Coming in hot on a Thursday, we have Liza in this, well, not in the studio, on the show today, and a little surprise at the end of the show. But today we're talking about EV adoption and some new data, Texas and Tesla, and service advisors. It's been too long. Liza, welcome to the show. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Paul. I'm coming live from the kitchen.
I know. If you're not watching, if you're only listening on the podcast, Liza is literally standing in what looks like a commercial kitchen because tell the people why you're in this room right now.
So at 9 o'clock, we are kicking off our Working Genius training with a lot of the leaders of CMA. And we have this large, beautiful space right outside this room. But as Paul and I were getting going, Paul, everybody kept coming up wanting to say good morning. And I was like, this isn't going to work. So I'm hiding in the commercial kitchen that will house our lunch later today.
I love it. We're going to get a little baking show. ASOTU Bakes is coming in hot with Liza Borches. It's going to be amazing. You don't want me
baking, by the way.
You can't do everything. There's got to be some kind of, I have my love people more than you love cars shirt on today. I had to make sure I wear this. If you didn't know, and you've seen that around the ASOTUverse, this is actually these are Liza's words. Love people more than you love cars. I don't remember where I heard you say it first, but I remember saying, I'm putting that on a t-shirt, and it's become the ASOTU mantra. And even the TV show that we're doing, More Than Cars, is literally just a little rip out of this phrase, right? Love people more than cars. And so I have to give you props when you're on the show because your thinking and your ability to put it into words kind of like gave us a grounding rod.
See it everywhere, Paul. This is what our industry is and needs to be about. So thank you all for exploding it.
Absolutely. Well, we're trying to do our best, and we're not done. We're just getting started. As a matter of fact, we'll be in person. Liza will be there September 26th, 27th at ASOTU Con. This thing is heating up really quickly around the halls of ASOTU. We're both going full bore. We're about to start announcing our presenting sponsors and all the partners that are going to be there. We have over 1,000 rooftops already represented in just half of our speaker list alone. So if you can get out to Baltimore in September, it's going to be an amazing couple of days. Go to ASOTUcon.com and get some tickets. They're still discounted until September 1st. Then the price goes up. And if you're coming in, bring a couple people from your store because
we will have a full team there, Paul.
Let's go. Because if the leader always comes back with some great idea, you know how it is. And everyone's like, Liza's got another idea, right? But if like 4 or 5 people hear it, you can really use the time to like plan some first steps and make some real change in your organization. So Liza, thanks for rolling heavy too, because I know people are going to want to meet your people because they want some more of this in their life.
I think we had 7 or 8 people there last year, and it was a really great team building time. Definitely were able to implement ideas that we were all able to absorb in one place and have conversations that we don't always get to have in the dealership when we're fighting fires, helping customers, serving people.
Oh, well, you're probably one of the people that understands the value of that the best, which is probably why you're doing the event you're doing right outside that kitchen. All right, let's talk about a little bit of news today. So according to new studies by J.D. Power and Ernst & Young, stated consumer interest in battery electric vehicles is moving forward despite the ongoing infrastructure and some safety challenges. The research shows a significant shift in buying intent. So EVs predicted to capture 27% of auto sales by 2026. And that's what the data is showing. They showed the J.D. Power survey showed that 21% of respondents however, faced issues charging their EV at public stations, while only 3% of Tesla owners reported those issues. Ernst & Young study highlights that 57% of respondents are concerned about the dangers of home charging, particularly fires in garages. So, so you have this one point you say, hey, like buying intent is actually moving forward. It says, a lot more people are considering an EV as their next purchase. Meanwhile, it says a lot of people are considered about charging and some safety concerns. Liza, what has been your perspective on the ground? You're in stores, you have a lot of brands. Everyone's doing something a little different with EVs and charging and all that. Tell us what you're seeing, on the ground.
Well, it's definitely different market by market. We have some markets that seem to be embracing EVs at a much faster rate than others. And a lot of that does tie back to the investment in charging infrastructure within that community. The more rural communities don't have quite the charging stations available, and that is impacting people's decisions. However, we were just meeting just a couple of days ago with some of the legislators talking about the Infrastructure Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, and getting a lowdown for our state as an example of the rollout of the money that's coming federally, specifically to put charging stations up and down all of the interstates in Virginia. And then we learned what are the secondary roads that are coming the following year, so that we can be having conversations with our consumers about here's the timeline of the rollout. Here's where all of the charging stations are going to be available for Teslas and non-Teslas. And also looking at some of our OEMs that are now partnering, I guess, with Tesla as far as allowing their vehicles to be able to charge at a Tesla station. There is so much happening around this right now that it's exciting to see that consumers do want to be moving into EVs. We don't have all the solutions yet. But the alternative is to simply say, we're just going to keep selling ICE vehicles using fossil fuels and not innovate as an industry, right? That's not an option.
Right.
So,
we gotta move somehow.
We got to move somehow, and we got to keep educating ourselves, and we've got to keep, as dealers and retailers, being a part of these conversations and giving this feedback. 90% of charging happens at home or at work. We're seeing more workplaces investing in putting charging stations, especially larger businesses. So if you really start talking to them and they are putting a charging station at home and then they potentially have one at work, that covers them except for when they're going on road trips.
Yeah, right. That's the only time, which is usually a pretty rare occurrence. Well, speaking of charging stations and road trips, maybe. Texas is moving forward with a groundbreaking decision to mandate Tesla's charging technology in EV charging stations in order for people to access the federal funding through the programs you just mentioned. So this move is obviously being closely watched by other states because they often will look at a landmark state and follow suit. So this highlights, Tesla's growing influence with their charging stations. So basically, the federal program requires the one that's been the standard, the CCS plug at a minimum, but then allows states to actually add requirements to the funding distribution at a more regional and local level. So basically Tesla, they've been debating this back and forth. And despite opposition from some charging companies saying the mandate would slow down infrastructure, Texas Commission actually approved the plan unanimously. And they say they're aiming to cover 97% of the state with EV charging infrastructure. So they're the largest beneficiary of the plan with $5 billion awarded to them. So it sounds like you've been in conversations about, with this federal programs and charging infrastructure. What's the situation like in Virginia? Like, are they mandating any charging, or has that come up in conversation at all?
It has not been a part of the mandates in our state. I think it does address a bigger issue, which is having multiple ways to charge a vehicle is not going to be conducive to moving electric vehicles forward in this country. And when we look at all of the different OEMs and the amount of product we have coming, whether we as dealers or not want to embrace it, that's what is going to be coming on our lot. So we need to be, a part of this conversation. And having one universal way to charge a vehicle is going to be critical in the long term. There is so much politics between Tesla and the non-Tesla, and the amount of power that Elon Musk has in this space is a little bit scary, Paul. It's actually more than a little bit scary. I don't have the answer on that, but I know in our state that is not currently part of the mandate. But I do plan as a dealer being a very strong voice in that conversation as it comes to Virginia, because we need to be stepping up and making sure that we're not allowing Tesla to become the dominant player, and that everybody else, we're not making this overcomplicated for the type of chargers and the dollars it's going to take to put the right infrastructure in place.
Well, certainly not a simple conversation, and there really isn't a right answer, right? This is one of those things that everyone's going to advocate for their position, and then whatever it is, right, everyone's going to have to adopt and get along. So if you're a dealer, get involved in the conversation is what I hear you saying, Liza.
Yes.
All right. Well, we have one special treat. We alluded to it at the beginning of the show. So as I open automotive news this morning, as I do every morning, I saw on the front page of the digital edition, one of CMA's service managers, Carmen Hinton, who was actually featured as a 40 under 40. And Liza's like, Carmen's right here. Let me grab her. Carmen, congratulations first, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very honored.
So well, okay, so we're just warming you up because I know you're going to have a lot more interviews, and then when NADA comes around, everyone's going to want to talk to you. So we're going to try to talk to you now. Give us the quick path. How did you end up to be a service advisor? Like, what was your first position in a dealership?
I started as a receptionist, And then I moved to the accounting office. From accounting, I went to a service advisor, and then
Why?
Because
That's an interesting path, accounting to service advisor. I'm going to say that.
too much energy for the office.
She wanted people, Paul.
I can't just be in it. And no offense to the office, they do a great job, but I was too.
You need more people,
Exactly.
volume.
Look at that smile.
Interactive.
Like she
I
needed
know
to
it.
be connecting out there with customers.
Yes.
And using her
That's-
superpowers.
Yeah,
That's
where I
amazing.
felt most comfortable. So it's worked, and I'm very proud to have the opportunity to do so. And Liza's been able to assist with that as well.
So tell me this: what is your very favorite? I know it's the people, but like, what gets you most excited as in your job? Like, what situation where you're like, I love that just happened?
The energy. So the energy that everyone brings to the table. So I like depicting what everyone has to bring to the table, and just making it a bigger thing than what they realize that it is. And when they're excited about what they see that they can do, then I get excited as well. So, and then of course, we can better serve our customers. So that's one of the things that I enjoy.
One more question for you. My first position in the auto industry was actually as a service advisor, so I can empathize with some of the things you deal with. And I think every service advisor approaches this differently, but it's probably one of the most important parts of your position. How do you deliver bad news to a customer? What's your approach?
You have to be direct. You can't sugarcoat anything, but you also have to have empathy, because obviously no one wants to have to bring their car into service. So that's the number one thing that you have to be very aware of. And then of course, figuring out a path that works for them, that they could service their vehicle or get them back on the road, or we can plan for later, or if we can take care of this today, how can we make it happen? But I've never felt as if I'm doing something that is bothersome. I'm just helping them get their car back on the road. And a lot of people are appreciative of that.
You know what, Paul? You know our core values, and the one of everyone wins. What I see Carmen doing is finding solutions for customers that will help them win, getting on the road in the right budget, making sure that we're winning by giving them a safe and reliable car. But she lives our core values to a T.
Yes.
Yeah, and I bet the smile doesn't hurt either.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It was really a treat to have you ladies join us today. We'll see you both at NADA. Liza, we'll see you in September in ASOTU CON. Now get out of the kitchen and go love people more than you love cars. We'll talk to you soon.